It is the last panel discussion on this stage. I can't believe how fast the time has flew by. But actually, this last panel discussion will answer one of the questions that was sent into the Slido platform earlier on how to maintain your IP when connecting to a larger company or a larger organization. So this last talk will be about assessing the intellectual property health of a deep tech startup. And let's welcome on the stage, first of all, the moderator for this panel discussion, Mr. Mārtiņš Kokalis, who is implementing the European IP Information Center initiative in Latvia, addressing the challenges faced by small and medium-sized enterprises in navigating the world of intellectual property. Welcome, Mārtiņš. And as the speakers, first let's welcome Sigmar Lampe, a leading IP expert at the University of Luxembourg. He manages the university's intellectual property, fosters technology transfer, and actively contributes to the European knowledge transfer community. Welcome. Yes, a round of applause to Ilja Rudyk, a senior economist at the European Patent Office, well educated in the field of commercialization, having written publications about this topic. Welcome. Let's welcome to our panel the founder of the Commercialization Reactor. He's a serial entrepreneur and also an investor who brings rich experience in building and scaling deep tech companies, Nikolai Adamovitch. Welcome, Nikolai. And last but not least, welcome to the stage Reinis Spunde, a seasoned entrepreneur with over 25 years experience in trade and technology startups, and currently he's the CEO and co-founder of the deep tech chemical industry startup Catalyco. Welcome, the stage is yours. Take it away.
Thank you. Yes, the last panel for us, I was told that there's dinner afterwards in this hall, so we'll have to get out fast afterwards. And so we are here to talk about how to assess the health of a startup from the IP perspective. Me personally, when I'm talking to startups, I have the feeling that in this context of health, that they usually, when I ask them about IP, it's like we're asking about dentists. How are they feeling? Because when they answer, it's usually like, oh, it's too expensive, oh, I'll go when it's painful for me, then I'll start to think about it and stuff like that. So our role here is to talk a bit about why it's important early on to have your sort of dentistry checks in order and for your company to grow, why IP health is important. So initially, I'd like to give the word to my panelists to introduce themselves. You have short 2 minutes elevator pitches. So I think, Nikolai, you have to start with the first one. That's the button. Next one is for you. So,
I suppose today you already have heard a lot about commercialization reactors. Therefore, I will have 30 seconds about that. So we create, accelerate, and invest in a deep tech startup. We are a venture builder company on the one hand, and we have venture capital arm as well. So this is our numbers. You already saw it in our portfolio right now. More than 50 startups still in place. We were awarded as with first prize #1 program in Europe, deep tech startup creation to capital cycle. Always who would like to join, just let me know. So it will start from 4th of June for scientists and 29th of May for entrepreneurs. So a couple numbers about our fund, which already finished investment period last December. We invested in 48 companies, deep tech companies. 38 from them were created and born in Commercialization Reactor. And from 8 seed stage company were Catalyco, one of them, 6 of them born in Commercialization Reactor. Many thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I represent Catalyco. My name is Reinis, and Catalyco is one of the Reactor's startups, and we are operating in the chemical industry, in the materials industry, and creating a sustainable supply chain for materials, industrial materials. And one of the purposes of Catalyco is to postpone the Earth Overshoot Day, which last year was on August the 2nd. And our first focus is on zinc oxide. So zinc oxide actually is quite a widely used material. The main consumption is in rubber. Any rubber product production requires zinc oxide. It is also used in chemical industry as an activator and even in sunscreens. And we are recovering zinc oxide from industrial waste streams, because currently Europe relies on around 30% of zinc oxide imports. At the same time, we have huge amounts of zinc oxide available in industrial waste streams, which is currently just lost and sometimes landfilled. And at Catalyco, we have developed a technology which allows to recover zinc oxide from these industrial waste streams and return it back to the industry. And it can later be applied also to copper oxide, nickel oxide, and cobalt oxide. And we have a great team to make it happen. Me, myself, I'm an MBA, more than 25 years experience in sales, in B2B sales, and we have a great scientist who has developed this technology. This is, so we can say that it is a family technology, because initially it was developed by her father and mother, and we have also a great advisory team. So that's shortly about Catalyco.
Thank you, Reinis.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the possibility to speak here in this very dynamic environment here in Riga. This is fantastic. So congratulations to the organizers for putting this event together. This is really wonderful. I was really surprised and happy this morning to see that I'm not the only person from Luxembourg here today. But a few brief words to everybody else about the University of Luxembourg. Our university is very young. It was founded only 20 years ago, well, 21 years now, in 2003. It is a fairly, let's say, normal university. It has a faculty of science, one of the humanities, and another one in law and economics. So you will immediately see that deep tech is not our main focus. We're not the ETH Zurich, we're not TU Eindhoven or TU Munich, we're not a technical university, we are a general university like many others. What is maybe a bit special is that we have 7,000 students. A lot of them are bachelor students, a lot of them are master students, but 1,000 of them are PhD students doing their doctorate degree. So that is quite a high number. And that emphasizes the role and our interpretation of a university as being a research university. We're really research focused. And on top of that, we have, of course, 300 professors who supervise these PhD candidates. And so that in total makes a research population of roughly 1,500 people at the university, including the PhD students and postdocs. So we have quite a good research capability. And I work in the Office for Partnership, Knowledge and Technology Transfer, where we basically see ourselves as the interface between the scientists and the outside world. We help them take the technologies that they have developed out to the market. We are a relatively small unit with only 18 people, and we try to bridge the gap in being central and local at the same time. So it's very important to be close to the scientists, to accompany them throughout their journey, and at the same time we have to see that we treat everybody more or less in a harmonized manner. So that's a fine balance to tread. And on the right-hand side, you just see our 20-year cumulative. Of course, it does not compare to the 400 years experience of KU Leuven, for example. But we do file patents. We do grant licenses, many of them actually software licenses. and so far we have created 13 spin-off companies. And this is very briefly how we see the journey of a scientist and their idea into the market and a spin-off company. I'm not going to talk about this in detail, but we see this mostly as a journey in which we have to accompany them. So it's not a one-off interaction. It's very important to be in the same boat with them during that journey. There's a few words about myself. I'm a semiconductor engineer, and in semiconductors you work a lot with interfaces. The interesting things happen at the interfaces, and that is what I realize and sense here as well. It's when the scientists, the entrepreneurs, the investors, they interface with each other, that's when things really happen. At the same time, I'm not only representing the University of Luxembourg, but also the Association of European Knowledge Transfer Professionals, ASTP, which is our European network of such offices in the universities. And of course, from Latvian universities, we also have members, and we try to exchange the best practices and harmonize that and move our profession and the activities forward in a positive manner. And this is this ASTP. We have more than 1,500 members all over Europe with 44 organizations who are also members of us, and we offer continuous education throughout the year. In March, we still had an event going on here in Riga, for example. So we try to spread the best practices throughout the community. So this was about myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very good transition to me. So I am working for the European Patent Office. Can I ask just one question? Who knows what the European Patent Office is? Or okay. And just the other question, who doesn't? So a big gray zone. Okay. Just very briefly, so the European Patent Office is the second largest organization, international organization in Europe. We have more than 6,000 people working for us with 4,000 examiners, and apparently Sigmar was one of them in the past. And what do? They examine patent applications. So with the European Patent Convention, a process has been established which provides a centralized patent granted procedure, which means that you send us the application for the patent, we examine it, and once it's granted, you can then validate it in up to how many? 45 countries. Not only Europe, but also additional validation countries with some 750 million inhabitants. So a large market that you can protect your invention in. Last year, the unitary patent, I don't know if any of you have heard about it, came into force, which allows you, after the patent has been granted, to get the patent automatically in 17 countries at the moment. And once additional countries in the EU have ratified, there will be 25 countries. So at the end, we will have a one-stop shop at the EPO from the application until the time after grant, with a one-stop shop for the fee payment, for administration, and so on, and also at lower fees. Now, what is important, and one of the messages from my presentation for you today is that startups, SMEs, universities are very, very important for in Europe, and especially for the European patent system. We received around 200,000 applications last year, so 200,000 applications for inventions to be granted, and a large share of those, so over 30%, came from individual inventors, startups, SMEs, and universities and PROs. So more than 30% of applications from Europe are actually not from large companies. So the patent system is not only for large companies, but also and especially valuable for smaller players, startups, and SMEs. And indeed, more than 50% of the users of the system are startups and SMEs. Of course, I'm just not making the statement. We, and I'm working for the economics department within the European Patent Office, we wanted to provide evidence about the importance of patents, especially for startups, especially for SMEs. And in two of our studies, we were able to show that, first of all, SMEs that own IP, so patents, but also maybe trademarks and design rights, are more likely to grow, and not only to grow, but become a gazelle, so to grow relatively fast over a longer time period, so more than 10% over a 3 years time period. And what we also saw is that if the company is also able to manage the IP and to have an IP strategy, then the chances to experience high growth are even higher. Second, together with the EUIPO, who are administering European trademarks and designs, we have carried a study and looked into funding. So basic question, are companies, or especially SMEs and especially startups, which own IP, be it trademarks or patents or both together, are also more likely to receive funding. And what we found out is this is indeed the case, and in an extreme case, if we look in particular at early stage funding, and if a company has a combination of trademarks and patents, the likelihood is 10 times higher to receive funding compared to companies that do not own IP. So to sum up, we see evidence that companies that are using IP rights, patents, trademarks, and especially combination, are more likely to grow fast and are more likely to receive funding from investors. However, and this is then the transition to the deep tech field, we have carried out a study in looking at the deep tech startups. In particular, we identified all the companies that own a patent related to a technology, what we called the fourth industrial revolution, so smart connected objects, AI, data management, and all those what we used to call deep technologies. And what we found out is, although the networks are relatively of the same size, we see that there are more than twice as many companies, or especially SMEs in the US, that own patents compared to Europe. So it's a factor even higher than 2. So in the US, despite a very similar, let's say, size of the number of companies that are active, we see that there are many more US companies that are filing for patent protection compared to European and especially EU companies. And second, even for those companies that are already using patents to protect their inventions, it seems that the US counterparts have much higher IP portfolios. It's up to 30% higher when we compare the different group of startups between the US and Europe. So it seems there is a gap when it comes to patent and IP protection between European companies and US companies. And just, if I have 1 minute just to do a marketing, we have recently launched a service where we're trying to put all those startups, and here we rely on information from Deal Room, that own at least one European patent applications on a map. We have identified over 8,300 startups as of now, which received any type of funding with a profile in Deal Room and have at least one European patent applications. This tool is for free. You can have a look at it. Basically, what we are trying to do here is to merge business information with patent information, and hopefully for potentially investors or anyone who's interested to access the world of patents. So you can click on a company, you can see their patent portfolio, and by clicking you can even see what they are protecting. And I think this is a good tool because everything can be filtered by technology. So if you want to see that in your particular technology field, what are the other startups in Europe that are patenting and what is the technology that they're patenting? For example, if you're looking for a partner or you want to license a technology, then you're welcome to use the tool, and it is regularly updated with new companies and new information. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Ilja. And thank you for the background information, why it's important for startups to think about IP. I think it's evident that quite clearly that there should be not many doubts that why IP is important for startups to grow and succeed. As you said, 10 times more funding. But let's move on to some more delicate and complicated questions, I would say, about startups is when is the right moment to start thinking about IP protection and how to do it. So we will look at different scenarios, and it's not a secret that many, especially in deep tech, many inventions and startups are created and born in universities. So This makes the IP question more complex, how to transfer, how to license, how to sort of work around the IP matter, as there are different interests colliding there, the entrepreneurial side, the scientific side. But at the same time, there are some common challenges. And we saw from Sigmar, from your example from Luxembourg, as even a young university, you already have created many license agreements, many spin-offs. Yeah, so it would be great if you could give your opinion from your experience. What is the, how to better work for maybe our universities, what they can learn from you, how to work with IP rights in commercializing them, and what are the common challenges you see that are happening in this process of transferring the scientific discovery into an entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah, thank you. So this seems to be really a question for me. Thanks for that. But why are we talking about patents here and IP rights in the context of deep tech ventures? Because they're economic rights. That's basically what this is about. It's about the possibility of excluding others from making, using, selling the products or the methods that you have protected. So that's why investors are interested in this. But scientists, they're not really interested in that. They're scientists at heart. They want to advance their field of technology and do their research. And if they have a higher curve and a sharper focus, a sharper peak in their curve, then they're happy. So they don't necessarily have in mind that a startup will be created in the end, or that a license will come out of this. It is very often that they get feedback, oh, you are doing very interesting research. Have you thought about commercializing? Have you thought about patenting? And that is when they wake up. And that's why not only we at our university, but generally, I'd say at ASTP, all universities in Europe and worldwide, we have to keep educating our scientists that there is more than just the science. There's more interest, there's more relevance to that, and we have to enable them to then take the technology, their ideas, out into society in the form of spin-off companies, licenses to industries, or maybe even open science and creating impact for the better of the world. So these are the things that we try to do, and how we're doing this is to not just have a one-stop action with them, but to actually have a team where we accompany them throughout the journey. When they have a research result, that we team up people with them, that we sit down together before patenting to see what is it actually that they have developed, how can it be best used, and is this likely to be a spin-off company from the university, or is it likely that it can be licensed? And in those cases, we would go and opt probably for a patent. But if this is open science, we're also quite openly endorsing open science where this is appropriate. But the strategy needs to be defined quite early on. And this is something that is often an eye-opener to the scientists. Because, as I mentioned, they're focused on their publications. They have the citation index. That is the currency they're measured in. They usually don't see that a spin-off is even feasible for them. It's not something that they have in their minds. Until suddenly they wake up and they see, oh, there is a lot of potential in my technology. And now, how can I do that? And not all the scientists are entrepreneurs. And in those cases, we have to team them up with entrepreneurs and develop the case together.
Okay. Thank you, Sigmar. And I think it's a good segment into teaming up, because Reinis also, as a business person who's been teamed up with a scientist to commercialize their inventions. So, Reinis, could you give your experience? How do you balance this IP protection with business growth?
Yeah, of course, IP protection is a very important topic for a startup to protect the IP, so that, as Sigmar said, so that anybody else is not stealing it. But it is also a very big challenge for the startups, especially when patents are developed in a very early stage. So that's why, from the startup perspective, we need to look at the IP protection in a broader perspective, maybe not just patenting, but also trade secret and maybe some other instruments, because when startup starts to develop it's this new technology and starts to look in the market for the potential applications, then that this first idea may change significantly. And also this looking for the market applications, it can take a lot of time, especially for deep tech startups. It can take years to find the right market application. And before you find the market application, you, as a startup, you don't really have a lot of funds to use in this for the purpose of IP protection. And yeah, this is very challenging for the startups. So that's why kind of we try first to keep this IP as a trade secret. Then we try to find the right market application, and when we have found this market application, then we have attracted some funds, and then we can start to think about IP protection. And I have seen also cases where a startup has patented the technology in a very early stage, and then there is this time limit of 18 months to go to IP, how was it called, international application. So that's again a big PCT. Yeah, that's again big expense. And if you have not found the market application, you don't have this the funds to do this, and you are risking to lose your potential to expand the protection. So there are challenges.
So initially you would say it's best to keep it a trade secret, find the right moment, and then when you know the market fit, then you proceed with the patent. Okay, so that's the view from the startup. But then you're going for financing, and here I'm looking at Nikolai, who is a venture builder and an investor. Of course, you would probably like to see the maturity of the IP protection for this startup at a higher level, maybe when he's coming for funding. So what's your take on this? Is that a good approach, or for you is that enough, that it's just a trade secret, or you need more?
For many years we have so-called helicopter view, because we are working with universities on the one hand, then ideas become startup, and then startup faces with every problem what the university already made. So this is a situation with such we work for years, because I fully agree with Sigmar. It's because for scientists, their currency, as you said, it's Hirsch. That's Hirsch. That's it. Publications, and they do everything to be published more and more. And before publishing, they are approaching Technology Transfer Office just to disclaim and to patent somehow. On the other hand, it's a lot of grants, at least in Europe, where at the end you have to patent something. It doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter how, but you have to just, it's one of KPI, your KPIs. This is reality in the science world, and we see it. But someday, in future, someday scientists or university or TTO occasionally or systematically decides, okay, it's time to commercialize. It's time to commercialize. And we are one of methodology how to commercialize together with university. And we met TTO and starting to understand what's happened and what is situation. And everything is okay, but very often. But this patent will expire after a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And what to do? And what to do, or to pay a lot of money. Entrepreneurs, they have no investors. They are not ready to spend all money for such important but bureaucratic work at this time. And have no money for future, for real development, and so on and so on. And very often, we invested in tens of startups, and created and invested. And a lot of them faced with such problem when they are thinking how to avoid this already expired or almost expired patent by different ways of is it possible or not, and so on and so on. And fully agree. Right answer is to start to think about commercialization strategy, at least in general, for universities to start as early as possible. Not just to do something, but to think, is it possible to commercialize? Shall we really patent it or not? Or we need to publish? That's it. It's enough. And the answer, as I see, it's to start and to create a commercialization strategy as smart as possible. Normally, we prefer and suggest always to universities, to scientists, to patent something, but to keep as know-how, as trade secret, something as well, and do not publish it. It's more safe, a safe position, but this is a huge contradiction in the real world. This is a huge gap and tension between academic world, university world, and business future, let me say, based on this development. We have to do something, and it really exists, this problematic, and we already discussed among our small group, and probably it's to have tool, to have some suggestion how to create at least initial strategy for IP keeping. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I see that you sort of voiced also what Reinis mentioned, and from the previous discussion, it's obvious that there are some contradictions between these two worlds: scientists who want to publish as soon as possible, and then entrepreneurs who want to maybe keep it a secret until they have found the right time to do it. So it's really like an art form of understanding how to be safe on the one side, but also not limit yourself on the commercialization side of these things. So maybe from your opinion, Sigmar, again, how do you see how to get balance between these two things? Do you have any good examples of where it's a good system that works, where there is a balance between the scientific and entrepreneurial side, or it's going to be a struggle always to finding this balance?
I think it's, as they say, it's between a rock and a hard place. So that's where we find ourselves. We're navigating in this triangle between the scientists, potentially the founder, the investor, and the university. And of course, they are diverging interests. And they will be different in each and every case. So in the end, there is not a one-size-fits-all answer. And I think what really needs to be done each and every time is to assess the opportunity that exists to really commercialize this, and then come up with a strategy that is appropriate for the particular case. But the one thing that we cannot change about science is that they are going to publish. And that is really the big difference between a spin-off from a university where things are going to be published, if you want it or not, and a startup that is free to decide to keep things as a trade secret for a longer period, develop it further, maybe increase its value. That is an option that we do not have in the universities. So we, in the end, will have to go for a patent, as Nikolai says, and maybe keep some of the non-disclosed know-how as a trade secret for a good time. That is maybe the best we can do.
Is having a commercialization strategy something that Nikolai mentioned, something that the university requires or requests your scientists to also develop or think about? Or is that maybe for them already sort of a thing, they see it already like a checkbox that has to be done in any...
For some of them, it seems like this checkbox. A lot of them look at us as if they would have to fill in that tax declaration. Okay. So we have to take their hand and guide them through this, because they think, I'm going to publish, the day before we file the patent application, everything's safe, I'm done. And then the millions will come pouring in. And that is not the case. So we have to teach them that this actually is a journey that goes much further than just their publication and the patent filing. Because if we don't do anything, and if they don't do anything, nothing will happen. So we have to make it happen and do that together. Really see and teach them on the steps to get there, to approach entrepreneurs, to approach the right programs in developing the technology further, because we also have to acknowledge that this will be quite an early stage in technology. This is science that we're talking about. This is not mature, that it will be a product that is TRL level 9 that you can immediately sell on the market. That's not the case.
Okay, and Reinis, from your perspective, I heard that also you haven't yet sort of applied for a patent, but you've been thinking about the importance of this so you could keep the trade secret. Is there any other sort of, I don't know, management, like a strategy or something like that about IP that you have internally in your organization that sort of looks who manages this aspect of your company growth, who is the responsible person, and like an IP strategy? Is that something that you have developed, or?
Yes, this is also something that we are thinking about, and I actually think that the best IP protection strategy is to keep developing your IP. And this can be also that strategy that can work together with universities, so that maybe at university level there can be found kind of the very background technology that is patented, but there is still a room for improvement that can be later then developed within the startup at the right time point. And then developing the IP, that is the best strategy for any company to protect your IP. Because also when you patent, the patent gets published, and then people from, let's say, other countries are sitting in patent offices, reading everything, and you as a young startup, you will never find out that somebody maybe is copying you. And even if you find it out as a startup, you don't have the funds to protect yourself from those copying attempts.
Okay, thank you. And I already see you want to get in, and we also, our time is running out a bit, so I'll give you the last word. Because in the end, we're all looking, I mean, people in the auditorium probably are building something, they want to get investment. So what's your perspective on this? Do they have to come with you with a patent, or with an IP strategy? And what, and if you can add on what Reinis said, how do you see this?
IP strategy most important. If startup shows together with university, and let me comment a little bit before, because we always speak about background IP and foreground IP, and not focus only on background IP, because very often if scientists or startup can show, yes, we have background IP, but we can we have strategy for foreground IP. It's best case because it's for us. It's clear that it's not only for the past. It's for future. And when we speak about business and startup, by doing customer development and so on and so on and so on, will touch more features, more food for thinking, for patenting, and therefore, if foreground IP is promising, so it's much better compared with, okay, we have only strong background IP. It's okay, but we even agree, do not have background IP, but to have strategy for foreground IP. It's much more important. But to have both of them, it's perfect. So this is the attitude. Strategy, it's the most important thing.
Okay, and do you see that the startups that approach you, do they have this strategy, or is that something you, first when they come, you say, come back to me when you have this?
Because we are very, very early stage investor, we invest in tranches. And as I remember, our third tranche could be issued only if we approve IP strategy. First two tranches could be done before that, just to give money to touch market, to understand everything. It's too risky, but it's good enough. But third tranche, you definitely have to show IP strategy which we can believe in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you to all. I hope this was useful to the audience, and our time is also up. If someone in the auditorium heard that he needs an IP strategy, you should know that the EUIPO has currently a fund that co-sponsors 90% of the cost. So look up SME fund, which is Small Medium Enterprise Fund. It's open till it's open on a rolling basis, but now it's still open for Latvian enterprises, and it should close from our perspectives. It will close in the middle of summer, so hurry up, get this voucher, and use it to develop your own IP strategy. As we heard from Nikolai, it's the first step to understand what can be protected and what's the best way for you at the current stage for the growth of your company. And also good news is that the EUIPO also has a voucher for patent protection, which was closed, but will be open again on 21st of June, so right in time for this event. Next week, you can also get this voucher again. And this voucher covers patent registration, but also 2,000 euros can be put up for legal fees. So that's paying to lawyers for drafting and submitting the European patent application. So I think it's a good opportunity and the right time for also enterprises here in Latvia to use this. And I look for many more growing startups and talking again here maybe next year. So thank you to everyone, and see you at dinner, I guess.
Thank you to Reinis, Nikolai, Ilja, Sigmar, and Mārtiņš. Thank you for the wonderful ending and closing for this stage. Thank you very much. A lot has been said, a lot has been done today. We started with the trends, we started with the human mind. We continued building here on deep tech startups and ecosystems. And tomorrow morning, actually, speaking about intellectual property, there's going to be some brave startups. They're going to put their intellectual property on the line. They're going to pitch their deep tech startups in the competition already at 9 o'clock. So we're going to start on this stage and the stage right next to this one, dynamic presentations. I hope that you will be here. So thank you to everyone watching online. Just a note for people who are here. A computer, a laptop, a phone and a water bottle has been found. I don't know if it's an iPhone or an Android phone. Anyways, if you have lost your best friends, they can be found at the registration desk. So please go and get them. Otherwise, please do take your belongings. We're going to transform this room into the dinner stage. So we hope that you will be here, because as once a wise man said, if I could live my life again, I would take that extra drink, that extra piece of cake, and just chat with people. Well, where else can you do that completely for free? In Latvia, in Riga, in Deep Tech Atelier. I hope you had a wonderful time. My name is Ārtis Ozoliņš, and see you all tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock sharp. But right now, it's time to party! Let's go!